The United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden.
Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi is dead.
The United States launched a targeted operation against that compound.
They did a lot of shooting, and they did a lot of blasting, even not going through the front door. You know, you think you go through the door. If you're a normal person, you say, knock, knock, may I come in?
After a firefight, they killed Osama bin Laden and took custody of his body.
He died like a dog.
But his death does not mark the end of our effort.
A beautiful dog. A talented dog.
We give thanks for the men who carried out this operation.
And I don't get any credit for this, but that's okay. I never do. But here we are.
May God bless you, and may God bless the United States of America.
And I'm writing a book. I think I wrote 12 books. All did very well.
Hi, perhaps you recognize me. It's your favorite president.
We will decide who comes to this country and the circumstances in which they come.
Anybody in this country doesn't minimize their tax. They want their heads ring.
Socialists don't like ordinary people choosing, or they might not choose socialism.
The answer is might, because I want to do you slowly. I want to do you slowly.
I was saved by God to make America great again.
We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender.
G'day everyone, welcome back to another episode of Commanding the Narrative. My name is Stephen Tripp, and hello to everyone wherever you might be watching this episode. And if you are watching this live, we want to hear from you in the chat. You can contribute if you're watching live on Facebook, Rumble, or YouTube. And at some point, if you're feeling up to it during this interview today, I'll put the link to StreamYard in the chat, and you can call in, ask a question, have your say. Yell at me if you want, whatever you choose to do, but that option is there if you are feeling up to it. So let's get into it because we've got a great episode today. This is an interview I've been looking forward to for quite some time. But before we get there, I'll just let you know about commandingthenarrative.com and how you can follow us. It's by heading to the website, and you can find all our previous podcasts. We've had some really great podcasts lately. We had Jenny Chan on last week talking about the Second Sino-Japanese War and the atrocities that happened there. That was very interesting. A lot of World War II knowledge that I didn't know about. Also, our year in review episodes up there, and also another very interesting discussion on World War II with Professor Eric Lowe that is up there as well. Check that one out. That was probably one of the best podcasts we've done all year. If you want to read any of the articles, it's up on the website. These two surveys that you might want to participate in. Surveys are always fun. If you want to know who's coming up on the podcast this week, you'll find it all there on the website. You can hit the sign up button at the top right hand corner, and you'll get all the newsletters from us, so you can keep up to date with everything that we're doing. And if you'd like to contribute, you can head to Buy Me a Coffee and throw us a few dollars there. It helps to pay for the stream, it helps to pay for the website, which is very costly. And most importantly, gives me a very warm and fuzzy feeling inside, which is very important. So please head to Buy Me a Coffee and throw us some donations there. It'd be much appreciated. It's always great to know that we have support from all you, the viewers, and it's very humbling to know that a lot of you want to part with your hard-earned money to support us. And lastly, before we get to our great guest today, I'll just let you know about Australians for Better Government. It's almost the year anniversary of Australians for Better Government, and it's all about reforming our system of government. We're not focused on any policies or any political stance. We're non-partisan, but it's all about reforming the actual system of our government and improving our government for the benefit of all Australians. So please head to australiansforbetter.com and sign up to be a member. But let's get into it because, as I said, we've got a great guest that I've been looking forward to talking to for quite a while. We had him on the show in September 2023, back when we were doing the Ex-Candidates episode 80. So you can go back and watch that one if you want to. And he was a long-serving member of the Victorian Parliament from 1992 to 1999. He was the member for Tullamarine, and then in 2006 he was elected to the Upper House in Victoria, where he served until 2022. And of course, he's the man behind March for the Babies. His name is Bernie Finn. Let's welcome him now. Bernie, welcome to Commanding the Narrative.
Thanks for that, Stephen. Good to see you again.
Good to see you. We saw each other at CPAC, and it was good to see you there. And
it was.
How have you been lately? I mean, there's obviously you're not in a party anymore. You're
No, I'm not.
unshackled.
No.
You're free
No,
to.
mate. I'm very relaxed and comfortable. So I thank John Howard for that, perhaps. But look, it's great to be able to sit back and not be involved in pushing hard for something that I may or may not believe in,
Yeah.
which is something that has annoyed me enormously about politics for a long period of time. But I have to say that the last party I was in, yes, I did believe in very, very strongly. And they have disappointed me. Family First has disappointed me very, very deeply, and indeed has disgusted me very, very deeply. And I am no longer a member of that party. So I'm either going to give it away altogether, which my wife wants me to do, or I'm going to find somewhere else, and perhaps that somewhere else might involve a redhead from Queensland. But we will see. We will see what happens.
Well, I want to get to that and talk to you about that.
Mate, I'm Stephen. I'm just waiting for the invitation for dinner.
Yes, one of those steaks in Parliament.
I want
That'd
to
be
see
nice.
the steak and the sandwich maker and the bottle of wine. I'll be in on that for sure.
I think that would be a good choice. But mate, before we get to all of that, you're talking off air about the bushfires in Victoria. What's this? You know, I'm up here in Sydney. I didn't hear about it. What's happening down there at the moment?
Yeah, no, well, 42, 43 degrees down here at the moment. The wind is howling, and not too far from where I'm sitting at the moment, to our north. There are some savage bushfires. There appears to be a family missing tragically, or hopefully it's not tragically. Hopefully they'll show up after their home was destroyed yesterday. But it's one of those classic Victorian bushfires, and the day, unfortunately, the day is but young in terms of how these things work out. Because if the rain, if the wind were to turn later in the day, that would provide even more difficulty for those fighting the fires, and perhaps more damage. So, we're all praying for those who are out there fighting the fires, particularly for the CFA volunteers, but for the other firefighters as well, for the first responders, the police, the ambulance, everybody who is involved in trying to keep people safe. So God bless them, and let's hope that we can all get through today without too much, without any more damage, or without any more death or destruction.
Yeah, of course, we've always had bushfires here in Australia, even before the global boiling, as they call it. But you were talking about how the Greens don't like, clearing land, for backburning and things like that. But they're happy to send bulldozers into far north Queensland to build wind turbines and solar panels and
well, they are,
with no regard for the environment there.
We saw over in Brazil, they destroyed half a forest just so they could have a road to get to their CPOC. What is it? COP conference. Just lunatics. They are fair income lunatics. In fact, that's what Nigel Farage called them, lunatics. That was a word he used, and I endorse that entirely. He is 100% right. The Greens are nuts. Anybody who votes for them are nuts. And they are anti-Australian, and they show that on every day, and that's just the way they are.
Yeah,
it's really sad.
It really is. Now, look, another thing you mentioned it at the top of the show there. The elephant in the room is this post that you've put here on your Facebook about leaving Family First, which you detailed the circumstances around that. Look, I mean, you were in the party for quite some time. You ran for elections with them. I know you worked very hard for them. When I saw you at CPAC the end of last year, you were proudly wearing the Family First T-shirt.
Yes, I was. I won't be doing that again, mate.
So what happened? I mean, it looks like I've called Family First a dark horse because they kind of fly under the radar a little bit, but their polling is quite strong, particularly here in New South Wales. It looks like they may be in the chance of getting an upper house member elected at the election in March 2027. So a lot of people, looking to Family First with a little bit of positivity, hoping that there could be an option there. As was I. I was calling Family First the party of hope, the party of the future.
and unfortunately, they proved themselves to be anything but that, and that disappointed me enormously. I was actually very excited about Family First, and I travelled the state from one end to the other on numerous occasions during the Senate campaign when I was campaigning for the Senate. I was really excited about what people were saying, what people were thinking, and the message that we were giving out to people. But when the opportunity came, unfortunately, the leadership, the national leadership of Family First, showed the sort of gutlessness that we would normally expect to come from the Lodge in Canberra, as certainly at the moment. And they threw me under the bus. So I was disgusted. I was ashamed to be a member of that party, and I certainly will not be giving them my vote whenever I get the opportunity, whether it be in November this year in the Victorian state election or in 2028 when we have a federal election. I just wouldn't be able to do that. And where my vote will go is still up for grabs. But as I say, there is a lady up in Queensland with red hair who is looking pretty good. And looking at today's poll, she's now, well, not she, but the party, One Nation, is now equal with the coalition on 23. I think that goes back to what I was saying and have been saying for some years now. The Liberal Party is dead. It is gone for all money. And I think that there is a fair chance that either One Nation will take over as the main Conservative party, or a new party will be formed. I think a new party will be formed, a new Conservative party. One Nation will be a big part of it, I've no doubt. But a new Conservative party will be formed. Otherwise, we're going to be stuck with Labor forever, and there'll be nothing left. I mean, there's going to be very little left by 2008, the way things are going. And here in Victoria, of course, we have a government that has actually bankrupted the state and is committed to spending even more. You wouldn't believe that. They've actually given us a $200 billion debt.
Wow.
And they're committed to spending even more. I mean, how any state can pay off a $200 billion debt? I don't know. I was a member of the Kennett government, and I remember when we took over in 1992, we had a debt, but it was nowhere near that, and we were able to clear that debt. And largely that was because we were able to sell a lot of public assets. But there are no public assets to sell anymore. So. What Daniel Andrews has done, Despot Dan, what he has done to Victoria, what his political child has done, Jacinta Andrews, what they are doing to Victoria, I think is criminal. And what they've done, what they're doing to Victoria, I think is absolutely criminal. And my advice to any state who's thinking about returning a Labor government over the next, little while anyway, is think twice. Because you don't want to go down the same path that the Victoria has, because quite frankly, Victoria is stuffed. We cannot possibly recover from this within about probably 2 or 3 generations, and that is if we go really hard. That is if there's a change of government, and we get a government that will actually start to pull its horns in. But if we get Jacinta re-elected and she keeps spending at the rate she is, and God knows where she's getting the money from, I fear to think. I'm thinking Belton Road. I'm very, very concerned, and I'm an optimist by nature, but I'm very, very concerned about the future of Victoria. I got kids. I'm hoping one day to have grandkids. And their kids will be still stuck with this dreadful debt that Labor has bequeathed us. So I'm genuinely concerned, genuinely angry as well about what these people have done to our state.
It's not happening just in Victoria. It seems to be happening right across Australia and in other parts of the Western world as well. But that's what socialists do. Yeah, that's what they do. They spend money that they don't have, and then they expect the people to pay it. That's just the way of the world. Yep. Just quickly back to Family First, and I'll probably finish up with this. I was sent this article this morning that was actually written by a good friend of the show, John Martin, and it was published in the Canberra Declaration, Bernie Finley's Family First, What Conservatives Need to Consider. Now, this article has actually been since pulled down, and you can only assume why it was pulled down. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to throw any accusations out there, but what I've learned in behind the scenes at a lot of these minor parties is they claim to be different than the major parties, and they claim to operate differently than the major parties. But when it comes down to it, the executives, not the people on the ground. There's a lot of good people in these parties. Everywhere.
Yeah, there are, exactly. You're absolutely right there. Yes.
But the way these parties are run up the top, they're just as bad as the Liberal
they are.
Party.
They are. I mean, what I saw at the end of November, early in mid-November, when all this broke, what I saw was a federal executive that was no different to what I'd seen in Victoria in the Liberal Party, no different to what I saw across the chamber in the Labor Party. And I, as I say, I was quite frankly disgusted. I thought there was a party of integrity. I thought it was a party of free speech. I thought it was a party of a whole range of things that it turned out not to be. And as a result of that, I resigned from Family First, having spent the best part of 2 years of my life campaigning hard for them. I certainly won't be doing that again. So I'm glad it happened now, because it saved me campaigning in the state election, which is one plus.
Yeah.
But you know, they have disappointed me enormously. And my advice to anybody who wanted to get involved in Family First is to give them a wide berth. Because if they're going to treat me the way that they have treated me, they'll probably treat anybody that way. And I would hate to see that happen to anyone.
Got a comment here from John Martin. He's in the chat at the moment watching today, and he says that they weren't happy that he called out that they weren't actually pro-life. I mean, he wrote that in the article that's since been removed. What's your feeling about? I know you're the head of March for the Babies. Abortion is a big part of your policy, focus. There's a big reason as to why you left the Liberal Party.
Yeah. Well, I was thrown out of the Liberal Party because I was pro-life. Exactly. Exactly right. Yeah. But look, I had a discussion with John about that a while back, and I don't think this was when I was still in Family First, and I don't think it went very well for either of us, to tell you the truth. But everybody knows that I'm 100% pro-life. I do not believe that there is a child who should be killed in this country for any reason at all. And there is no medical reason to kill a baby, and there's no other reason to do that either. I know that Family First were concentrating particularly on late-term abortion, which is appalling. But given that most babies are killed before late term, that's probably something that not probably, most certainly something they should have concentrated on as well. So I don't know what influence that might have had on their decision to throw me under the bus, but they did. And as I say, they haven't just lost a candidate. They've lost a vote.
They probably lost a lot of votes, because I know you're very you have a lot of support down there in Victoria. And
certainly, I've had a lot of people contact me asking me what happened, and I've had to obviously felt obliged to tell them, people who I knew during the campaign as candidates who were working hard, I think that the federal executive of Family First has a lot to answer for. I think, quite frankly, if the federal president was anything like he claimed to be, he would resign now, because what's happened has done nothing but harm Family First. When we've got a number of elections coming up that Family First could have otherwise won. We've had members elected in, and that's going to hurt them. There's no doubt about that.
Look, this is the problem when things like this happen. The whole party gets, barred with the same brush. Do you want to acknowledge some of the good? I'm sure there are good people on the ground that you work with.
Look, there's great people. There's great people. You know, there are just some Jane Foreman, for example, the chair here in Victoria, just a magnificent lady who works so hard and is such a kind and decent person. Just tremendous. The members of the state executive. I was on the state executive until recently, they're really good people. And as I went around the state and I visited just about every electorate in Victoria during the lead up to the election last year. Some of the candidates that I met, almost all of them, I can't think of one that was lousy, but they're really good, decent people who want to do the right thing. I think it's really disappointed that they have been that they have been let down. They have been, I would use the word betrayed by their national leadership, and that's something that I think, the Adelaide Mafia, as I call them, something that they have to look at, if they've got a conscience, well, they'll do the right thing. If they don't, well, then they'll continue to go down the path that they have. But I think it's very disappointing that I've always been saying, the last few years anyway, that I thought Family First had a real opportunity to make a mark in Australian politics. I don't think that opportunity will be seen now, and that disappoints me. Disappoints me greatly.
Okay, so I've put the link into StreamYard for if anyone wants to call in and have the say. We've actually had a caller jump on straight away. John Martin, let's bring him on. Welcome back, mate. You want to have a say to the current discussion?
Yeah, well, all I want to say is just to clear the record. I've got absolutely nothing against Family First, or definitely not the Canberra Declaration. But the two things that were pointed out to me, because Family First, they contacted both me and the Canberra Declaration, and the two things they had against me in the article was, one is their side. I didn't contact them directly, and this is the first article I've ever written that's been published, so I don't have much skin in the game. So, but all I did was not contact them before saying, quoting what Bernie said in his Facebook post, and they weren't happy about that because they wanted their side of the story, as I said. And the other thing they weren't happy is that I said that they aren't a pro-life party. Well, I didn't even say that. All I said was, actually, I'll quote it. All I said was, in recent months, it's been revealed that Family First only support banning late-term abortions, though they say that they believe, quote, human life begins at conception and should be protected from that moment until natural death, unquote. And that's all I said. That's absolutely everything I said. And for the rest of the article, I said nothing about Family First. All I said was talking about the conservative movement and all that sort of thing. But that's what they jumped on, and they jumped on it hard. And if I'm honest, like I'm a Christian. I'm going to tell the truth no matter what. If they're going to say their policy is that they're only going to ban late-term abortions, but they want to claim to be the pro-life party. Well, people have got to know about that, because I assumed, like everyone else, that they believed that life begins at conception and should be protected from that moment. But if their policies state otherwise, then that's not fair. They're conning us. So and I've got nothing against Family First, but I think if they want to be consistent, then they should change that policy right now, and they can do it right now. They've just got to get their executive together and talk about it. And me and Bernie are on the same page on this, because this is the point. Like, if we can't defend human life in the womb, you can't defend human life anywhere. So our whole society falls on this one topic, and Family First are banking their support on being pro-life, and that's not what's happening here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as you say, John, crossing this is a line that can't be crossed. Killing babies is the place you draw the line. You say you cross that, and it's over. You can't support. I could not ever possibly support anyone in an election who supports killing babies. I would never in a million years even think about doing that. Now, I made my views known on abortion. Everybody knows my views, I think, at this point in time, and certainly Family First knew my views, and I thought that we were all on the same page. But it was only, I think it was actually after the election that was brought to my attention. I was, I think we got into a bit of a stoush about it from memory, because I thought otherwise. I think I've since been proven wrong. It does happen from time to time, let me assure you. But if I can assure you, if I had been elected to the Senate last year as a family first senator, and I came very close in Victoria. If I had been elected as a family first senator last year, I would be going way and further beyond that policy that they have about stopping late term abortions. I mean, the fact is, every abortion kills a baby. If we're fair income about being pro-life, we will go into fight for every single child. If we don't, well, we're not fair income. It's as simple as that. I think it regrettable that we seem to have that conflict. But I would hope that Family First would make their position clear, because I thought it was, but clearly it isn't. And I think it's probably time, particularly with the South Australian, the Victorian, and the New South Wales elections all coming up in the next 18 months. Less than 18 months, then they have to make their position very, very clear, so that pro-life voters actually know who they can vote for with a clear conscience.
Yeah, great. Well, look, thanks, John, for calling in, and I've got a lot to talk to Bernie about, so we better move on. But if anyone wants to read your article,
Thanks,
you put
John.
it up
Good
on
on
your Substack, right?
Yeah. I'll put the link in the description if you like. Not the description, in the Rumble chat. But yeah, that's it there. Yeah.
Right. If anyone wants to read that article, they can head to The Truth Prevails by YCFC on Substack. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yep. All right, great. All right, mate. We'll let you go.
Cheers.
And thanks
Thank
for
you, guys.
calling in.
Good on you, John.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, mate. Bernie, obviously you were known for being in the Liberal Party for a very, very long time. I've got a clip from 2022 when you were removed from the Liberal Party, and I want to just get your comments. You kind of touched on it already, but let's see what you had to say on that day.
What we have seen today is a statement from the leader of our party that the party that I joined over 40 years ago, over 41 years ago, is dead. Mr. Finn.
So you pretty much said the same thing earlier in this interview. So it seems that your views haven't changed. They've only emboldened. I mean, since that
absolutely.
time...
Well, I mean, you look, as I say, you look at today's poll, One Nation has is now even with the coalition in the polls. They're both 23%. Labor's, I think, 29% from memory. But you've got Liberal and One Nation neck and neck. Now, I don't recall that ever happening. It doesn't surprise me that it is happening. I saw Pauline Hanson in action. Had a quiet word with Pauline at lunchtime at CPAC last year, and I saw her in action later in the afternoon. And I don't think that I've ever seen her so relaxed, so happy, so ready to engage and to tell people exactly what she was on about. Because there's a lot of people they've gone along with Pauline over the years to a certain point. And then they say, oh, then she goes to a little bit further, and we can't go that. Well, she didn't do that at CPAC last year. She put in a particularly impressive performance. So if she's been doing that as she's gone around Australia, and I suspect she has, if she's been doing that, it's not surprising that the polling is the way it is, and I think that will increase. Because the Liberals, with Susan, with how many S's, I don't know, with that silly bloody David Littleproud or whatever his name is. Yeah, what an appropriate name, because he has such little to be proud of. It's just, I mean, he even had a go at Trump the other day, if you don't mind. Just extraordinary stuff. If the Liberals are fair dinkum about surviving, and I'm not saying that this is about them winning. This is just about surviving. They'll put in Andrew Hastie, or they will put in with Jacinta Nampijinpa Price, who I have to say I think is one of the most impressive individuals I have ever met. So to all of those people out there who say I'm a racist and a misogynist, I support Jacinta for Prime Minister. How does that suit you? So I think she would be a great Prime Minister, and she is somebody who cares deeply about people, but is so even-handed, so clear in her views about equality of people, as opposed to black people getting a fair go against white people, or white people getting a fair go against black people. She is the sort of person who can bring Australia together. So, if the Liberals are fair dinkum, and as I say, I don't know if they are, they're certainly not showing any indication they are at the moment, but if the Liberals are fair dinkum, they'll put her, or they'll put Andrew Hastie, who I've got a lot of time for as well. They'll put them in the leadership. Otherwise, they're gone. They are gone. They will be wiped off the face of the earth at the next election. It will be something that will have to be seen to be believed. And Menzies will be rumbling in his urn. It will be just an extraordinary event, political event in this country. And as a result of that, Albozo, if he's still there, he's going to get another 4 or another 3 years. So these people have to snap out of it. They've got to realise that the future of the country is on the line, and if they don't get their act together, this country is buggered. It is gone. It is done. It is finished. Honestly, that is the truth. This country's future is on the line. And you couldn't imagine Susan Lee having the any chance of doing anything to turn it around, because she, a few years ago, she was in the Friends of Palestine. She's as left wing as most of the Labor Party. And as for David Littleproud, well, who knows what he's on about? He's just sort of sits there and nods from time to time. It's just a total waste of time. And they threw, basically made it almost impossible for Barnaby Joyce to stay in the Nationals. So he's left, and he's gone to Pauline, and good on him. I hope he does well. But the Nationals, in a lot of ways, and I know a lot of Nationals, and I get on well with a lot of Nationals. But I tell you what, one thing I've noticed about the National Party over the last 16, 17 years is that they have taken a decided step to the left in terms of membership. And I have been unpleasantly surprised by some of the things that I've heard National Party members come out with over those years. So even those of us who were inclined to have great sympathy with the National Party, that sympathy is dissipated because their commitment to conservatism has dissipated as well. So what do you do?
I want to bring up this post. This is an Instagram post by Sam Groth, who I believe was the former deputy leader.
He was until yesterday, I think. Or yesterday or the day before, yes.
Yeah. And he wrote here, I entered public life to serve my community, to represent the Mornington Peninsula, and to stand up for what I believe in, and to stand up for what I believe is the best interest of Victorians. I've always tried to approach this job with honesty, hard work, and a clear focus on the people who put their trust in me. But when you find yourself having to fight against your own team, it becomes impossible to put those interests first. This is not the standard I came into public life to accept, and it is not the kind of politics Victorians deserve. Now, he's talking there about fighting against his own party.
Yep. Boy, do I know all about that?
Yeah. You know about it in spades, mate. I mean, what is going on with the Liberals behind the scenes?
With shovels, with spades, with front unloaders, you name it, I've got the lot. Look, I got to say, I don't know Sam Groth all that well. I've met him a couple of times. He seems like a really nice bloke. I don't know. I don't know what he stands for. He's never made it clear. But I don't blame him for walking away, because I felt the same way in May of 2022. When they threw me out, because I had been sitting in that party room for 18 months, thinking to myself, what the hell am I doing here? These people, and I don't believe the same thing as they do. We just not in the same not in the same building, much less the same room. It was just appalling. So when it came out of the blue, and Matthew Guy, the two-time Liberal loser, Premier, or not Premier, never going to be Premier, I've got to tell you that. But, he led the Liberal Party to two massive defeats. And is sniffing around again, I've got to say, to do it a third time. You reckon some people might learn, but no, not him. Not all that bright, clearly. But what we are, what we saw in May of 2022 has happened again. They did it to Moira Deeming, who replaced me in my seat in Western Metropolitan Region. And purely, I mean, it was quite amusing because they thought when they got rid of me, they thought that was the end of the problem. In fact, I remember Liberals, so-called Liberals, saying to me, "Well, now that you're gone, our problems are over." Oh, really? Well, it was shortly after that they were absolutely smashed for a second election, and then their new leader started attacking a new member of Parliament who had been there, a couple of weeks, for being the N-word. That I'm not talking about the darkness of her skin, but I'm talking about that word that we're not allowed to use anymore, I don't think, in Victoria. But and then all hell broke loose, and it's still going on to this very day. So what we have seen is a Liberal Party in Victoria that is hell bent on self-destruction, and it will achieve it. If it keeps going down the path that it is, it will achieve it. I can assure you. They hate each other more than they will ever hate the Labor Party. They would prefer a fight to a feed among themselves. That is.
Yeah.
I think when you get a party like that, when you get a party that regards the important election as the state council election, where the internal elections of the party are held, when that takes precedence over a federal election or a state election, as has been the case over recent years, well, then you got no hope. You've got no hope. And the situation is, it's not just Victoria. It's New South Wales.
Yeah, that's right.
It's South Australia. WA, well, there's hardly any Liberal Party in WA left anymore. The CLP, well, they like a blue from time to time as well. They threw out their last successful chief minister up there, Terry Mills. It is, and up in Queensland, you've got a premier who does not in any way, shape, or form represent the grassroots of the party. The grassroots of the Queensland NLP or LNP is a conservative base. And he ain't no conservative, let me assure you. He's done a couple of good things, but he's done some shockers as well. The first one being the first day of Parliament, when he actually ambushed his own members of Parliament and forced them to vote to leave the abortion laws as they were, which is abortion to birth in Queensland, as it is in every other state and territory in Australia. And he, as Premier, forced his ministers and his backbenchers to vote to keep it that way for the next 4 years. He's got nothing going for him at all, Chris Afuli in Queensland. You look at that situation, and you have to say to yourself that they as a party are in more strife than the early settlers. I haven't mentioned the ACT, where they throw out anybody for anything. They don't care. It's just extraordinary. It's hard to know in the Liberal Party whether it's harder to get in or out. It's really very, very hard to get into the Liberal Party in certain areas, particularly if you happen to be a Christian. But very, very easy to be thrown out for no particular reason at all. Because back when I was thrown out, I said that I prayed for an end to abortion every day, and guess what? I still do. And if praying, I mean, I still don't know actually whether they threw me out because I prayed or whether I wanted an end to abortion. I don't know. But if praying for anything is grounds for throwing somebody out, that in itself would send Menzies into a spin. Because he was a great believer in freedom of religion, and the Liberal Party in Victoria does not believe in that. It doesn't believe in freedom of speech. I mean, the therapy bill that we voted on in the Victorian conversion therapy. That's it. I always have trouble with that word. It must be blocked out of my mind. The conversion therapy bill that we voted on, I crossed the floor. Because I thought that legislation was totally against everything that the Liberal Party has ever believed in. It was against freedom of religion. It was against freedom of assembly. It was against freedom of speech. It was against freedom of conscience. It was against everything known to man. It was supporting government interfering in relationship between parent and child. It was telling priests and ministers what they could tell their people in the pews. All of this stuff that was absolutely, totally opposed to everything the Liberal Party has ever believed in. And the Liberal Party en masse, with the exception of myself and Bev MacArthur, en masse, the Liberal Party voted for it with the ALP. And I thought to myself, at that point, what the hell am I doing here? So, when the time came, I called it an opportunity, actually, but when the time came to turf me out, I was very pleased that they did, and very relieved, and I did not fight it. I mean, I did not make one phone call urging people to vote to keep me in. Not one phone call did I make, because I was actually hoping that they would turf me out, which I knew that they probably would, but they were campaigning hard, because there are a lot of people who didn't want to do that. But they went berserk, and we know Mr. Newbury, the shadow, whatever he is now. He an interesting chap, to say the least. I don't know what he's doing in the Liberal Party, but good luck to him. But there are a lot of people in the Liberal Party who don't know what they believe in. They don't know why they're in the Liberal Party. They could very easily be in the Labor Party or even the Greens. It's very, very, for those of us who are rock solid conservatives, those of us who are conviction politicians, and I'm not talking about the conviction that certain state premiers should have, but I'm talking about those of us who actually have convictions, who actually believe in things, and we want to stand up and fight for those things. Those of us who are in that situation, we look at the parties, and we look at the Liberal Party in particular, and we say, well, what the hell is all that about? Why do they exist? And I don't know why they exist, and I reckon they don't know why they exist. You rock up to Parliament every week, and you're told what to do, and why would you do that? I just, it was a gift from God Himself that I was thrown out of the Liberal Party, and it did me the world of good. And you just have to ask my wife about how I changed in the lead up to a parliamentary sitting week. Because I had been grumpy, I had been obnoxious, I had been stroppy, a whole range of things in the lead up to a sitting day before I was thrown out. Afterwards, it was a breeze. It was great. I could go in there, I could fight for the things that I wanted to fight for. I could vote the way that I wanted to vote. It was for me a breath of fresh air, and it's a great pity that we don't have more of it. We don't have more in the Liberal Party and in the Labor Party too, I might say. Not that that's ever going to happen, but we should have more in the Liberal Party of allowing people to vote their conscience.
You're exactly right, and you're bringing back memories for me, because I was expelled from the Liberal Party as well, and I felt the same way when it happened. It was like one of the best days of my life. I was like, thank God I don't have to go to these horrible meetings.
Look, if you can go through life in the Liberal Party without being expelled, you should be ashamed of yourself. That is just appalling. That is just appalling.
But look, it's for the country, though. I mean, the Liberal Party used to be the hope of the side. The Labor Party would get in, they'd screw things up, and then everyone would say, okay, well, at least the Liberals will come back in and fix things. We don't have that option anymore, because that Liberal Party doesn't exist anymore. So what does that mean for the country? A lot of people have been talking about the minor parties merging. I think a lot of people have given up on that now, because they've seen that that's not going to happen. It's a hard question. There definitely seems to be a realignment happening. You mentioned One Nation are now neck and neck with the Liberals in the polls, which is, I can't even believe. It's like I'm living in the Twilight Zone after growing up, seeing One Nation through the years. But what do you think needs to happen, or what do you see happening? On the Conservative side of politics, how do we turn this around?
Well, mate, I'm a great believer in history repeating itself. And I look back to prior to 1944 and the UAP, not Clive Palmer's, but Robert Menzies and others in the UAP back in the late 30s and the early 40s, and the UAP was ripping itself to pieces, was gone for all money. Until such time as Menzies and a few others got them aside, got them all in the same room and said, do you ever want to be in government again? And they formed a new party. They won in 1949. It took them one term to do that, which isn't bad considering that, they'd been through a war, and that war was, like the Labor Party had carried us through that war. But Menzies managed to do it and did it very, very successfully. And the Liberals were in government for many, many years, largely due to the fact that the Labor Party split and DLP preferences kept them there. But they were in government for a very, very long time. And I think what people have to realise, and I don't know, I think it might be, the next election, maybe the one after, before people realise that unless they form a new united party, a genuine Conservative party, a genuine party that believes in what the Liberal Party used to believe in, unless they do that, they're going to be in opposition forever. And Labor will be in government forever. I would hope that there will be enough people who love this country enough to form that new party that we need. It may well be. I don't discount the possibility that One Nation will overtake the Liberals as the main Conservative party. In fact, they are far, far more conservative than the Liberals are now. And that's why I'm looking at voting for them at the next election.
But do we have that Menzies figure though that can bring them all together? I mean, that seems to be the element we're missing.
Yeah, well, look, I think we might have two. We might have two, and you're going to laugh at this, but you would have over the years been highly amused by a comedy team called Abbott and Costello. I think the Liberal Party could also do with a dose of Abbott and Costello, because Tony Abbott is clearly the Conservative side of politics, and Peter Costello is more of the he's not a lefty by any stretch of the imagination, but he is of the conservative right, or the centre right. That's what I meant to say, the centre right.
Bernie, I agree with you completely about Costello, but when we were at CPAC, I watched Tony Abbott speak, and one of the questions that was raised in my mind, and I spoke to people about this, there seemed to be a hunger from him to come back to politics. But the big question is, and I live in Warringah, I live in his old electorate.
Yeah.
Where do you put him? Where can he get elected?
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Big problem.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, I would like, and I said this to him. I'd like to see him go back into Warringah, because I used to go to Manly for quite a bit. Used to holiday in Manly. In fact, I'd have a week or two in Manly every January, and I haven't been back there since when did he get turfed? 2016 was it? 2017. 2019. So I haven't been back there since he got turfed. So I'd be thrilled if they could get rid of that lunatic that's there now, the Chook woman. If they could get rid of her, that would allow me to return to Manly, which is one of my favourite places in Sydney, if not my favourite place in Sydney. I'd be absolutely thrilled. But I think on a wider level, I'd like to see Tony being leader. I'd like to see him Prime Minister again, because I think, if he was as conservative when he was Prime Minister as he is today, he'd probably still be Prime Minister. And that's a simple fact of the matter. I mean, he was too much, in my view. He's trying to be all things to all people when he was Prime Minister, and I think that was really sad, because when he was elected, I was really excited. I remember the day that he was elected opposition leader, I nearly broke my hand when my fist went down on the desk when I heard he'd won. I was so thrilled, I nearly broke my hand. And I really had enormous hope that Tony would carry through what I knew he believed in. And unfortunately, that didn't happen to the degree that I would have liked. Now, I think if he was given another opportunity, I think yes, he would, and I think he's got the energy, he's got the capacity, to do that. I mean, you look at Donald Trump; he's nearly 80. Tony's nowhere near that. I think Tony Abbott could be in very different styles, I might say, but he could be our Donald Trump. And that is something that maybe people should have a look at. But we cannot keep going the way we are. If we continue down this path, we're going to have Albozo as Prime Minister for the next 5 years, 6 years. That's a horrifying prospect on any count. So people have got to these idiots who are fighting each other in the Liberal Party over things that, historically, that was something that they fought about maybe 20 years ago, 30 years ago. They've got to stop it. They've got to get their heads out of their fundamentals, and they've got to get their act together. Because if they don't, not only is the Liberal Party finished, which who would care anyway? It's only a political party. But the Labor Party will remain in government and will continue to destroy this country. I mean, that's the bottom line. The future of this nation is on the line, and the Liberals have to play their part in ensuring that we can turn it around. And at the moment, they're nowhere near it. Nowhere near it.
I go back to when Howard was voted out in 2007, and the biggest catastrophe, I think, looking back, was that Costello wasn't groomed for the leadership, and he actually walked away from politics at that time. I think if he'd stuck around as opposition leader, he probably could have won the 2010 election and beaten Julia Gillard.
Yes, look, I think he could have. I think, as Peter Costello has often said, and I like Peter a lot. He's a good bloke, great bloke, in fact. Peter Costello is the greatest Prime Minister we never had.
Yeah,
and I think that is a fair assessment, and I think it's regrettable that he was never Prime Minister, because I think he would have been a good one.
And since then, we've just had this decline in leadership in this country, where we have this. I mean, the current leader that we have, Anthony Albanese. I mean, this is the clip from him at Bondi getting booed. Let's play this clip quickly. So
that's the man. That's the man that united the country, isn't he? Is that him?
Supposedly,
is that the bloke? Is that the bloke? Yeah.
But it just shows such weak leadership. I mean, he's backflipped on this Royal Commission now. Is this the problem? Are we in a crisis of leadership?
Well,
not
absolutely.
just here in Australia, but across the Western world.
Well, I think we are very, very largely, and I think I thank the Lord at the moment for Donald Trump. He's the only one on our side in the Western world, apart from the bloke in Argentina who is an absolute ripper, and Giorgia Meloni in Italy, who is also very, very good. They're the only ones that are actually showing any form of leadership at all. I find it extraordinary that we have a situation where we have governments upon government upon government who've got useless leaders who are leading them down the garden path, leading their countries down the garden path, and leading the Western world down the garden path. And it doesn't matter whether it's France, it doesn't matter whether it's Germany, it doesn't matter. You can go on and on. Canada's a classic example. They had Trudeau for years, and they put this other lunatic in. So you've got to worry about the Western world. In fact, I would go as far as saying, if Donald Trump had not won the last election, the Western world would be in danger of crumbling altogether. He's the only one holding us together, and isn't it great to see him standing up for freedom around the world? And I saw on the news a little bit earlier, the president of Colombia has agreed to come and meet with President Trump in the White House, and if nothing else, it's a lot cheaper. It's a lot cheaper for them to come to you than for you to go to them. If he wants to go and see Trump and Trump locks him up, well, that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing in my view. But Trump is a phenomenon. Trump is an extraordinary individual. I don't think we've ever seen anyone like him anywhere. I've always been a big fan of Ronald Reagan. I think I loved Reagan became president when I sort of hit my straps politically, and I loved him to the ends of the earth, and I still do. But I've got to wonder at the minute if Trump's not going to Trump him, if I can use that term. He is just doing amazing things, and he is a truly remarkable leader. And for these fools to be running around saying, he's I won't repeat some of the things they say about him, but almost as bad as some of the things they say about me. But the things that they say about him are just sick. They're just sick. I mean, these people with TDS, Trump derangement syndrome, they're in a bad way. They are mentally ill. Trump derangement syndrome is a genuine mental illness. And, we have seen people in the last 2 days, we have seen people go out of their way to break the law, to stop ICE agents from doing their job. And one, possibly two that I'm aware of, two more I think have happened, two more shootings anyway, have happened today in Portland, in Oregon. This is going to happen. And what worries me enormously is that the United States will have another civil war. And I hope we've not seen the first shots in that war over the last couple of days. But there are people in the United States who you would normally regard as pretty rational and pretty normal, mention the name Trump to them, and they go troppo. They go absolutely loopy. That, to my way of thinking, is from their point of view, pretty sad. Because Trump's actually saving their country for them, and they don't realise it. He's actually saving their country. Just amazing stuff.
Can you imagine if the same thing happened here and Pauline Hanson got elected to?
They would go.
You wouldn't. It all pale. The Trump derangement syndrome would pale in comparison to that. I think
it would be the ferals would have a field day. They would be out in the streets. They would be going berserk. I something. I reckon Pauline would love it. I reckon Pauline would handle it. I reckon Pauline would handle it very, very nicely indeed.
Yeah. Look, mate, we're getting towards the end. I want to squeeze in a couple more things. I just want to play this clip of Liz Truss quickly because I think it speaks to what you were just saying about Donald Trump, and then I'll get your thoughts.
You just can't win. And this is what Donald Trump understands, perhaps uniquely in the Western world. I think there are others who have taken on the deep state. You might point to Viktor Orban, you might point to Bukele or Milei, but really Donald Trump to me is the playbook of how you need to behave, because a lot of people in politics think because it was the case, in the 70s, 80s, that you could reason with the opposition, you could find a compromise, you could be bipartisan, you could persuade people, you could sell it in the media, you could roll the pitch, that strategy can be adopted now. And I think they're wrong because the opposition have changed. We're not dealing with a load of social democrats who just want to raise taxes a bit and spend more on public spending. We're dealing with people who want to destroy Western civilization. This is what their aims are.
In hearing that, do you agree with what she's saying? And do you think
I agree.
conservatives...
I could not agree with Liz Truss more. And I've got to say, I used to think Liz Truss was not much good until I heard her at CPAC a couple of years ago. And I changed my mind immediately. She's very impressive, and I think, and I hope that she has got a role. I hope that Nigel will find a role in his government for her after the next election. Look, I think what she says about Trump is absolutely true. Milei and Meloni in Italy are doing a great job, but they are at best, because of the size of their countries, they are at best bit players. And Trump is the leader of the free world. That's the bottom line, and he is leading beautifully. And what we saw in Venezuela last week or the week before or whenever it was impressed me enormously, because here he was. They had a problem. They had a problem, and they'd had a problem for years and years and years. Silly old Biden had promised 25 million if somebody would get him. Now, I don't know if Donald Trump has actually claimed that yet, but he should, because he actually did it. But there was a problem, and and I saw Chuck Schumer back in 2019, I think it was, when Trump was president the first time. He was actually chiding Trump in the Senate for not getting Venezuela sorted out, and now he's in the Senate complaining because he has. So what
Crazy.
I mean, the real problem the Americans have is the Democrats, because they're just loopy. They're really in a bad way. They're very, very strange indeed. But I think that Trump is being supported by some very good lieutenants. Not enough, I've got to say. Hopefully that will change over the next few years. But I think Trump is leading in a way that nobody could have ever expected. I mean, I supported him in 2016 purely because I thought to myself, well, at least he'll fix up the Supreme Court. And he did. But he did a hell of a lot more. And, since he came to power, since his inauguration on the 20th of January, nearly a year ago, he hit the ground running. He hasn't stopped. Is it any wonder he falls asleep from time to time? Strike, I'd be nearly dead. I'd be nearly dead if I was running at that pace. just amazing.
But he's hilarious as well. I mean, I know this Maduro thing. Has divided people, and I like it. I think let's not kill innocent people on the battlefield. Let's go after the leaders like they used to do in medieval times. The kings would fight the battles and things like that. But
mate, isn't it amazing? Isn't it amazing? They went in, they got him, they got out in under 3.5 hours.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. But the other thing that's crazy,
without an injury, just unbelievable.
The other thing that's crazy, I mean, I listened to some of the politicians here in this country. I mean, Susan Lee was asked a question on Bondi Beach the other day, and it sounded like a robot speaking. It was ridiculous. Like it's like she'd memorized some memorized.
Well, she probably had. She probably had, yes.
But here you've got Trump, the biggest troll out there as president. He posted, and you posted this on your Facebook the other day. This is what he put on Truth Social.
Venga por mí. Aquí lo espero en Miraflores. No se tarde en llegar, cobarde.
I just got 3 things to say. God bless our troops. God bless America. And gentlemen, start your
I mean, it's classic trolling. I mean, I couldn't help but laugh. But look, I mean, do you think conservatives here in Australia need to really start paying attention to this stuff and be more bold?
Absolutely. We've got to stop being so bloody timid. We've got to be strong. We've got to stand up and believe in and convince people. We've got to lead from the front. You can't lead from the back. You've got to lead from the front. You've got to say, this is what I believe in. This is why I believe it. Now come with me and we'll fix it. That's what we've got to do. Until such time as we do that, well, we're wasting our time, and that's the bottom line. Why would people bother following us? Why would people bother voting for us if they don't know what we believe in and they don't know how we're going to achieve it anyway? So people just have given up on the Conservatives. Well, the Liberals anyway, because they're bloody hopeless, that's why Pauline is getting the support that she is, because she is prepared to stand up, and in the face of enormous hostility, I have to say, from time to time, and we go back to when she was first elected, and she copped it left, right, and centre. And I've got to tell you something that I have never told anybody else. So you've got a scoop here today, and that is in 1996, which was Pauline Hanson's first campaign as the leader of, what became One Nation. I actually voted for her because I was disgusted at the way she was being treated at the time. I was a Liberal MP at the time, by the way, and I was disgusted at the way she was being treated. I was appalled at the attitude of certain people over the way that she was not given the right to free speech. And I said, no, bugger it, I'm going to vote for her, which I did. So it may well be, history's about to repeat itself later this year. But the fact of the matter is that until such time as we get up and we talk about the things that we believe in and that we are going to fight for, and that we actually do fight them, well, then we're wasting our time. That's what we have to do. Of course, there are a good many people, particularly in the Liberal Party, who don't know what that is. They don't know what they believe in. They don't know what they'll fight for. They don't know how they would fight for it. It's just a waste of time. And and I've spoken to people in the Liberal Party, and I said to them, why do you stay? And they don't know. They honestly don't know. And I've got to say, I don't know why they do either. It's just all very, very strange. But I think there will come a time when whether it be One Nation or whether it be a new political party, and I think that new political party will be built around One Nation. I think that is coming, and bring it on. The sooner the better, because otherwise we're going to get stuck with this nutbag in Canberra for the duration. And I don't want Australia to suffer any more than we have already. And you've already seen what the anti-Semitic black cloud that has been planted on Australia. The world doesn't look at Australia the way that it used to. The world doesn't look at Australia as a lucky, happy-go-lucky, free country, sunshine, beaches, footy, cricket. Well, we're not looked at that like that anymore by the world. And that's largely because we've got a Prime Minister in Canberra who has gone out of his way to divide this country. And you just have to go back, nearly 2.5 years, when they had the voice referendum, where he tried to divide this country on the basis of race, where people would be treated differently according to the Constitution because of their race, because of their skin colour. And here is a bloke who now has divided the nation on the basis of religion. So when he comes and tells us that he is here to unite the nation, we know he is a BS artist. I nearly really went to town. But we know he is the world's biggest BS artist, because he has not united this country. He has gone out of his way to divide this country. He is a disgrace. He is a disgrace. And he, if he had any semblance of decency in him, just at this minute, he would not have been up announcing a royal commission yesterday. He would have been a curability handing in his resignation. I mean, what gall did that bloke have? And then he appoints one of his mates. I mean, he says, give me. I had to have time for reflection. That's what he said. I had to have time for reflection. No. What he meant to say was that he had to have time to find somebody who was as left wing as he is, who would cover his butt to be appointed as commissioner. And that's what it was about, because you've got photos of him sitting around the table having a cup of tea with Yasser Arafat. Now, at the time, Yasser Arafat's Palestinian Liberation Organization was blowing planes out of the sky, was killing civilians around the world. But Al Bozo, he thought it was fine to sit down with a terrorist, a known terrorist, a murderous terrorist, a horrific terrorist. Al Bozo thought that was fine. We've got photos of him at various anti-Israel, anti-Jewish rallies in years gone by, and he tells us he's a friend of the Jews. Give it a rest. He might, and then he insults our intelligence by putting that out there and expecting us to believe it. We've got eyes, we've got ears, we can see what he's done, we can hear what he said, we know what he is. And that, to my way of thinking, is an insult to our intelligence. And for that reason alone, I mean, if he has got that low an opinion of the Australian people, he is not fit to be Prime Minister. Clearly not.
Mate, this is why I love having you on, because you fire up and you speak from the heart and you speak with conviction, which I really like. And I wish you were back in the Parliament, and maybe you will run again. Let's see about that. But
Well,
I want
time will tell. Time will tell.
Yeah, I want you to fire up on this as we come to a close. I mean, this is Albanese has backtracked now. He's announced the Royal Commission. He's appointed Virginia Bell to be the head of the commission. A lot of people, especially the Jewish committee, have a problem with that due to some of her past judgments. But for me, I think a Royal Commission is really taking the focus of what the real issue is. And for me, it's immigration. You're bringing people into this country that are in conflict with each other, and then you're expecting them to live peacefully together. I mean, do you think that the core issue of all of this is immigration policy, and we need to address that, or multicultural policies, mass immigration policies? For me, that's the core issue that seems to be getting ignored at the moment.
Well, it is, and it is, and anybody who's and the Liberals are as bad on this. Anybody who wants to challenge the common knowledge, as they would describe it, anybody who wants to challenge that is regarded as a racist. Now, that's bloody nonsense. If somebody cares enough about this country to say we should only have people coming into Australia who will fit in, who will not try to kill us, why would we be involving ourselves in importing murderers and welfare recipients, people who want to take our money and kill us? Why would we want to bring them into to Australia? Why would we want to subject our kids to that? Why would we subject ourselves to that? Why would we subject our parents to that? I've been looking at a number of cartoons, and Johannes Leek has been very good about this with this in the Australian, where he's had a number of cartoons from depicting diggers who have died, and they're saying to Albozo, why did we bother? Why did we bother? Look what you have done. And that's a very, very good point. Why did they bother? Why did they fight? Why did they protect our country when we've got a Prime Minister now who has sold us down the drain? Totally and absolutely sold us down the drain. And, I do get very angry about this, and I do get very fired up about this, because this is my country. This is where I grew up. This is where I was born. This is where I grew up. This is where my parents were born and grew up. This is where my grandparents were born and grew up. And, and this is where my children were born and are growing up. And, we've got a Prime Minister here who's just trashing the whole bloody show. He's just turfing it out the window. And people are just saying, oh, we can't, they don't seem to care. I mean, what the hell is going on? I'll tell you a story. I was down the local shopping, one of the local shopping centres the other week, and I was talking to one of the local traders there, and he said to me, it's not Albanese that I'm upset about. I said, oh, really? He said, yeah. He said, it's those heads out there walking past who voted for him. Yeah. They're the ones who I'm really, really angry with. And it's true. And I remember in the lead up to the election, particularly at pre-poll, where people would come up and they would not take any how to vote card. They'd just have their Labor card on their phone, or they'd have their Labor card in their back pocket or whatever. And these people would vote Labor without thinking. Well, I've got to say to you, I think that if you did vote Labor, you weren't thinking. And I hope to God now that people are thinking. I really hope to God they are thinking now, because, if they're not, they'll do the same thing next time. And this country is stuffed. And that's that is a tragedy. This country is such a great country. We should be so. I mean, I could have been born. The good Lord could have put me anywhere on earth. He could have put me in Somalia. He could have put me in Venezuela. He could have put me in Colombia. He could have put me. God knows, he could have put me in New Zealand. But he didn't. He didn't. He put me in Australia, and for that I am so grateful to him. And as a result of that, I have got an obligation to defend what we have here. I've got a duty. Yes. I mean, those of us, we all love a beer. We all love a pie at the footy. We all love that, yeah. But there are bigger things than that. Unless, of course, Richmond win a premiership, in which case there is no bigger thing. But we are things. We are people who have an obligation to defend the country that is ours. That is ours. We cannot let these people come in and just bloody take over. And that's what's happened. And that's what the Prime Minister of this country is doing. He's letting people just come in and take over. And it's largely for political purposes. You know, it's not anything that's going to be good for the country as far as he's concerned. It's good for him. It's good for his it's good for his future electoral benefits. That's what it's about, and I think it's just despicable. I mean, I have got to say to you, I have absolutely no respect for Albanese. I have no respect for Tony Burker. I have no respect for that Kwong woman. They're just bloody hopeless. They are a disgrace. And I look. I'm not easily given to despair, but feeding him, sometimes you've got to think of it. It's a viable option. It's just appalling what's happening in this country, and I appeal to everybody out there who was listening, watching. I said listening earlier. I'm going back to my radio day. Sorry about that. It's something that we all have to take on board, and we all have to take seriously. Because if we sit back and we just let it all happen, we're going to wake up one day, and it will be too late. It will be all over, done deal, and we'll be gone.
I agree completely. And mate, I appreciate your time. I just want to finish with this question. It's actually from one of the listeners, Martin Taylor. I think it's a very good question. Bernie, what do you say to the 5 million Australians that abstained from voting in the last election? What will be the confidence statement to win them back?
Well, the confidence statement, as I said, Conservatives have to get out there and explain what they're doing. Now, we had a situation at the last election where Peter Dutton said we're going to have nuclear energy. Now, nuclear power. And then dropped it. He just didn't talk about it anymore. If you're going to introduce something as big as nuclear power, you've got to explain yourself. And it was very largely a part of the reason that they lost, very largely a part of the reason he lost his own seat, because he didn't explain it. If you're going into an election, you've got to, and Tony Abbott did this very well as opposition leader. You'll remember he had 3 key policies, and he hammered them, and he hammered them, and he hammered them, and he hammered them, and he won. You can't go into an election half-cocked. You can't go into an election where you don't actually know what you believe in. You can't do that. If people are going to be won over, they've got to be won over by things, by concepts that are relatively simple. That can be easily understood, and that people can see the benefits in. And that will get people off their tails. That will get people to the polling booths, and that will get people voting for you. Because the distraught nature of the electorate at the moment is something that I've never seen before. There is no confidence in anybody anymore, and that is something that I find I find dreadful, and I find something that we really, really, really need to change. And I was hopeful, talking about Tony Abbott again, I was very, very hopeful that when he became Prime Minister, we would see that happen. And the first thing he did was to break his promise on raising taxes. So I thought to myself, well, that's the end of that. We have got to be strong. We've got to, people are looking for leadership, and there is none. We are looking for leadership. We are looking for people who actually want us to go somewhere. They want us to follow them. They want to take us with them. That's what we need as people involved in politics, as people who actually care about this country. That's what we need. We need to provide leadership. We need to provide what people want. And people have said to me time and time again, why do we bother voting? Nobody listens to us anyway. And we've seen that just the last couple of weeks with Albozo and the Royal Commission. He didn't want to do that Royal Commission. He told us, how many times did he tell us why we didn't need a Royal Commission? And then he came out yesterday and said, very, very half-heartedly, I have to say, yes, we're having a Royal Commission, but then appointed one of his mates in a butt-covering exercise so that he doesn't get dragged over the coals for being a Palestinian extremist. So that's really something that has to change.
The great pity is that you've been down in Victoria, in the Victorian Parliament, and obviously you're well known down there, but you're not quite as well known around the country. But that's the good thing about podcasts these days. You get known by the larger Australian audience, and we also have an international audience as well. So if you've enjoyed
G'day, Don.
Bernie,
G'day, Don. How are you, mate? Good to see you.
So if you've enjoyed Bernie today, you can follow.
Wouldn't mind popping in for a Diet Coke one day.
If you've enjoyed Bernie, you can follow him on Facebook. Just type in Bernie Finn MP, and you can follow. He actually has a very good Facebook page. Posts a lot of interesting stuff and some insightful comments as well. So follow him there and keep up to date with everything that Bernie's doing. I think if you were to run in Western Metro on a One Nation ticket, mate, you might have to walk back into Parliament House one day. I don't know how you'd feel about that.
Yeah, I'm not really. I've got to say, I was in there a few weeks back, just before the House rose for the year, and I left, and I thought I didn't really miss that. I've got to say, I didn't really miss that at all. But the thing is, I didn't want to go to Canberra. The only reason I ran for the Senate was I actually felt some sense of relief when I didn't win. But I ran for the Senate because I thought that's where you needed to be to make a difference. And that's at this point in time. I'm getting toward the end of my working life, and I'm getting toward the end of life generally on this earth. And my view has always been that you judge your success in life by how you find things. And if you leave things in better shape than when you found them, you've succeeded. And at the moment, I have been an abject failure. This country is far, far worse now than when I was born, when I was conceived. It's worse, and that's something that I bear responsibility for, and I bear responsibility for every day. And the knowledge that I'm responsible for that, it tears at me, and I want to turn that around as much as I can before the good Lord calls me home.
Bernie, it's been a pleasure having you on. You're always insightful. You always speak with conviction, and you're entertaining as well. You've made me laugh plenty times today, and hopefully we can get you back on in the future. So thanks for coming on the show today.
Well, mate, if I've made you happy, I've had a win, and that's a damn good thing.
Very, very good. If you've enjoyed this, head to the website, commandingthenarrative.com, and sign up and get all our great interviews. And hopefully, Bernie, we can have you on again soon, maybe before the Victorian election. Yep, and we can follow you again and hear from you again. But for now, we'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.